the only one, maybe the other person. So how to promote, how not to be a preacher, because then it's like, it's my truth. But what about other, maybe in 2 years, another enlightened person come and tell me it's not sustainable development, but this is the white screen. So is, in your opinion, shouldn't we provide use the tools to a critical reflection and then let the students to come to that? And my second question is, how do you measure knowledge? You mentioned that you saw success. You mentioned that you saw someone of our colleagues that she changed her mindset. From the cognitive perspective, how do you measure that? It's just because she managed the concepts? It's because she used them in one project? How do you measure knowledge? Those are my questions.
20 years ago, before the first Human Development Report was launched, how many followers of this idea there were? 1 or 2. Or the Secretary General, Mahbub ul-Haq, Amartya Sen, a few others who were writing one report. Now, in 20 years, we are sitting here. How many years we are running this course? Already for 6 years. People are still interested in this concept because it's the reflection of their lives.
Yeah, but how many are we? 20? I don't know, 30? Plus 6 times?
Only 3 years ago, Uzbekistan had no idea about human development. Now we have so many higher education institutions who are interested in teaching this subject.
Yes, but my question is how do you promote reflection, how do you promote critical thinking and not only preaching? Because
no, it's
if
not
I'm
about
here,
preaching.
it's because I thought that human development and sustainable development can help to what I consider a better world.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, my colleagues at my job and at my university where I used to do my PhD, they think opposite. So when it's preaching, I'm not promoting critical thinking and reflection, but it's just, you should believe in God.
May I add to this?
Can I first answer? I would not call it preaching in the first place. And the concept is evolving. It's not the closed theory. It's not like a book of economics. It's changing over time. It's always going back rethinking. It's critical.
Exactly. How do you promote that? I know it because how do you promote? Not to me because I know already the concept. For other person that is not a believer, as you mentioned in your question.
That's my example comes to. A couple of years ago, we did Human Development Report in Moldova, and it was 2005-2006. Quite good years for Moldova. A lot of remittances. Economy is booming, and government, well, president mostly, president administration especially, they want no word about bad tendencies in this. And we did report on quality of economic growth. And it was quite critical. The report was saying, guys, we have 6% economic growth, but enrollment is declining, growth concentrated in capital, and so on and so forth. We did this report with Ministry of Economy, and our partner's Ministry of Economy was quite reluctant to sign it, because typically we sign front page, forward, and so on and so forth. And but he firmly believed that analysis done in this report was quite profound. So what we did, we simply presented this report. He introduced this report. He said, we did this report with UNDP, and this is research organization who did this report. That's kind of these bloody consultants who did it. I know nothing, but let's discuss. And he brought this report into public discussion, and what we did, we distribute a copy of this report to all people in Ministry of Economy, especially to the group which dealt with poverty reduction strategy. It was called National Development Plan at that time. And when you take this National Development Plan, you see direct quotations from this report. Because we in UNDP had a long discussion what means impact of report and what report itself means. Is it one product or a set of products and so on and so forth. But through this kind of approach to critical thinking, why we do this National Development Plan, how we do this National Development Plan, that could translate this, operationalize these big ideas into real life. Am I clear?
No, but okay. I mean, don't take me wrong, I'm in your side as well. If I'm asking you this, is because I'm facing the same difficulties in my job. I admire with your approach, but I don't see how you promote it. But anyway, can we go to the second one? And how do you measure knowledge? The knowledge I have, how do you measure that someone really thinks on a sustainable way.
Well, I think I gave you quite a number of examples about how we sustained the knowledge.
Yeah, but how you know that after this course, for example, that in 2 years I will be still applying the same concept? Have you measured something like that, or how you tell how sustainable a parliamentarian is when you start, and then if he or she is more or less sustainable in his way of thinking?
Well, it's a very difficult question, of course. It's very difficult to quantify what is which is only quantifiable. But in the UN system, we have a special UNDAF, it's Development Assistance Framework, where we put, for example, concrete expected results. For Uzbekistan, for example, up to 2014, it is the higher Human Development Index for Uzbekistan than it is now. Of course, it is not qualified, it's quantified, but it really matters, because if we influence the knowledge, if we change the way of policy making, then it will influence our rating at the global report. Also, one more thing. Going back to critical thinking, sorry. If you attended our training of trainers meeting only a week ago in Tashkent, you would be surprised that we didn't start with measurements with HDI. Not at all. We started talking about the most influential indicators like GDP, GNI, World Development Indicator. We said that there is a whole set of reputable indexes like CPI, Consumer Price Index, or Democracy Index, or Corruption Index. They all reveal different parts of our societies. But what stands out with HDI, that it is something which goes beyond GDP. It would tell us a little bit more than the GDP could tell, and it allows for comparison among the countries, which value not only economic growth, but other social values. So we started with a critique.
May I add to this? Thank you for provoking this discussion, and I don't think you should be frustrated because.
Tell that to my supervisor.
Sorry?
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah.
No, but I think the way you are asking the question, you are somehow leading yourself and us in a dead-end street, because your question does not have an answer. How do you measure knowledge? I mean, or how do you measure impact of investment in knowledge? You don't measure impact investment in knowledge, because knowledge is not something which you can influence overnight and measure overnight. You can invest and later see in X number of years what went well and what went wrong. And this is fundamental principle of knowledge building and knowledge sharing, not internally in organization. That's why I don't think the UNDAF is but it's about that. It's the same like how do you measure your parental performance? You measure it when you see when your children are grown up, and then you measure your parental performance. The same is with the only thing you can do is be confident and trust in what you are doing, and see retrospectively was your investment meaningful or not, and then through these indirect implications of your investment in knowledge, then you can assess did it make sense and to what extent and how. This is equally applicable. This last sentence equally applicable not just to human development, but any kind of knowledge. Neoliberal philosophy was also not measurable in terms of direct implication. It was deliberate investment with the belief in the rationality and soundness of the concept, period. Later, few decades ago, later on, it turned out this and that. The same with us. But there is one indicator which you somehow, I would like to stress. The number of this community which believes that change is necessary and possible is dramatically expanding. It's not just us sitting here. And the fact that you are sitting here is thanks to the pyramid below.
But I mean,
So those 30 people around are the proxy of this change which happened in the last 20 years, because 10 years ago there will not be 30 people around in this room with the base of the pyramid which makes this 30 people.
I was the participant of the first course on human development. It was so elementary, believe me. Now our knowledge, our understanding of things is deepened a lot. So it's also the quality of the knowledge.
I just would like to make some survey, actually, and I was involved in such in the World Bank when we did public awareness raising campaigns. And before we do the campaign, for example, on ozone shield protection, we did a survey of statistical representative of the society, what's the knowledge, what's the awareness level. We did a campaign through media, TV, everything, and afterwards we did the survey again and we could see the difference. But it's a very costly exercise. It's time-consuming, extremely costly exercise.
No, in case of Uzbekistan, as we saw like in presentation of Elena, we started from one university, which is what experimental, and now, as far as I know, 10 universities want to adopt this, integrate this program. If it would be interest and urgency of the topic, and also the online, because of the high level of participation in the summer course, Elena also created the winter course also, and online form, the way how people discuss, and the high competitive. Also in this summer school, the year by year, I know the potential of candidates is really increased, and case study, class test, and it's really became highly competitive. In my case, I didn't know that my story will be included in this booklet. I just shared my opinion that as public relations specialist in university, the way how I started to approach the news and stories, all my stories started to they started to be human-centered. I always write the history of one person whose life has changed. What was before and what was after.
So, I'll give it on the floor. If you insist on having some quantifiable indicators, you can have. And I just propose you a few. One, you can do context analysis of major policy documents, both governmental or policy papers, and compare the context, the language, the ideas 20 years ago and now.
That's what
Second issue, you can compare the relative dominance of different approaches in terms of measuring progress of societies. 20 years ago it was just UNDP. Now you have an enormous explosion. Third, you can have a list with quantitative indicators of people involved, resources, and so on and so forth, of different human development projects or human development departments. World Bank has human development economists, sections, and so on and so forth, which they did not have 20 years ago. So there is a lot of, if you want to go quantitative, you can. But I think this is just the secondary, illustrative level. The biggest investment is this base of the pyramid which makes all this happen. Please.
Can we have internet Google here for while talk?
While Michael is putting this down,
Elena, why you're searching, can I ask that? What is your next target?
What is my next target?
Yes, teachers, students, universities, policymakers.
I think it will be political parties. It's not that UNDP can work with the political parties, but we can support fractions. In Uzbekistan, we have 4 major fractions, political fractions, and I noticed that they lobby their interests pretty much. Like we have the political party Uzlidep. Uzlidep is the most rich party, which is not even taking any financial support from the government because these are businessmen and entrepreneurs. So, and since they get the most of the seats in the parliament, they lobby their interests. So it means that it's not inclusive, it's not for equality, that it's not policies that they propose. They just lobby their interests for profit. So I believe that my next target will be political fractions and maybe journalists, because I noticed that journalists, unlike Margiza, who understands now the essence, they simply copy-paste our press releases or even misinterpret what we are doing.
For example, that is my point, because aren't we risking kind of a functional analphabetism? For example, you may know the numbers, how to add and subtract, or make multiplications, but do you understand? That's my point. I mean, it's great that you have the concept of how you measure. That is my question. I mean, actually, that's what I'm doing in my work. But how do you take a journalist in your point A on time, and you take 6 months, 1 year, 5 years, and then you say, well, he really is a sustainable thinker, to name it in a way. And also, I agree with you. We can do a comparative analysis on time, but my question is, after your presentation, do we have time? Can we wait 100 years to see if what we are doing today?
But that's what our impact is about. You cannot measure it tomorrow.
Yeah, I know. But since we are discussing that sustainable requires a change in Parliament right now, and what we are not having is time, that's why.
Yes, it's very simple. No, we don't have time, but we don't have any other option than wait.
Just go and Google. What did you want to Google?
I will cite 2 examples regarding the impact of this discourse that I experienced in my life. Is those who know World Bank and IMF, if you go 10 years back, nobody believed that they will issue global monitoring report. You know, it's whole paradigm shift that they're following human development in their practice. As you said, they have the human development economists. The other thing is internalize the concept. Those who live in developed country cannot imagine how it feels to sleep in mosquitoes, and malaria disease can affect people's life. So if you experience that kind of problem, you will be a different development practitioner. And I'm from developing country. I can tell you from my UN colleagues, those who just studied in Cornell and Harvard, they were different from those people who were very indigenous from the local community, managed to get their job. So this is the internalization of the concept. And I agree with you, and that I'm going to show that it's the human development brand is a brand name. I will say call it a brand name. It's a very generic. If you say human development, people will get a lot of ideas. Apple is a fruit, and if you search apple in Google, what you see is apple.com. So this is the branding. They have changed the entire discourse, and this is the most biggest information delivery engine right now in the world. And if you write human development, this is called branding. Apple is no more a fruit.
And the interface is a carpet speck.
The problem is that those fruits are also not fruits anymore in most cases.
Yeah.
So this you can see that it's more resonant with the human development, like children development. These apps I've done the last year, quite a big achievement. You can see in the last year when I did the human development, there was no single page that popped up that say human development mean, human development index. It all said human development, children, human development, the chronological development, they grow in embryonic state and blah blah. But this time you can see still it's not that clear that Apple mean Apple. Apple mean Apple, iPod and blah blah blah. But when you say human development, it's in lifespan development or whatnot, HDR. So the branding itself I see is a problem, and I agree with you that it may not the policy maker may not be familiar with, or the general people tend to forget what human development is. So we need to work on this thing. That whenever we say human development, people understand that it's that development. Thank you very much.
This is very exemplary. So see, we have supporters from our auditorium. I have 2 slides left, so invitations with me.
and we have 5 minutes left.
Yeah. So about talking about sustainability of taking stock of the knowledge, keeping the knowledge, and transferring the knowledge is having some sort of libraries as well. So and since we are talking about my country, which is Uzbekistan, and it's a problem of translating all the material which is generated by English-speaking people. Most of the research is done by Oxford, India, they're English-speaking countries. So it's a challenge of translating into Russian and later moving into Uzbek. So for us, having an electronic library in different languages is a priority. It's also a priority, why? Because another pillar of my projects is production of policy briefs. What is a policy brief? It's a maximum of 10 pages of a document, which is very precise, which is very research-based. So there's a great work of policy papers, reports, analysis behind this paper. It's just an extract, a small extract of the huge research with a set of recommendations. So it's very targeted, it's very practical. I brought 2 for your attention. One is from the last year, and since we knew that Uzbekistan each year it aligns its policies with one of the social priorities, for example, or economic priorities. Last year, for example, it was medical people and development of healthcare system. This year it's about promoting and helping entrepreneurs and small businesses. So to present what the government is doing, we look at our analysis and we produce such papers on the eve of such years. So this policy brief was produced last year. It's about small business in Uzbekistan. So that government, before running the strategy for the year, they already know what problems it faces. Or this year, we also produce a policy brief which is close to the topic of National Human Development Report on Regional Disparities about economic rural development. So we took one pillar. This is a very powerful instrument because, first of all, our teachers and students, the quality of their knowledge very much increased. And they now can produce papers which we can later on support and turn into policy papers, because it's something which requires lots of analytical work, and we sometimes cannot subsidize it with money as UNDP. So if such a paper of a good high quality is brought onto our desk, we review it and we think if the recommendations are strong, reliable and doable, we produce such documents.
I have a question about policy briefs.
Yeah, sure.
Do you have them online?
Yes, they are online. www.undp.uz. There is a special banner. We have over 15 policy briefs since 2005 on different
Because I work at the institute, UNESCO Institute of Information Technologies and Education, and I'm in charge of producing policy briefs. So I work with experts who write policy briefs.
I can send you the guidelines.
Yes, you do have the guidelines.
Yeah, we have.
But what I'm talking about, recently we have decided maybe to think about producing them only online. To go green, not to waste paper, and to make it more accessible for policymakers. Why? Because you can I don't know how it works in your country, but sometimes we cannot provide every policymaker with publications because we have limited number of policy briefs. For example, I have from 500 to 1,000. It's not enough for a huge country like Russia. Or we are global institutes, so our mandate is global. So we cannot afford ourselves to provide everybody with policy briefs. We might consider
We do it both. We do it electronically, but we still spend huge money to publicize them in hard copies, and we do it in 3 languages at a time. Why it is important? Because when you distribute it among political parties, among parliament, among government, it does make a difference. For example, I was a co-author of the policy brief on higher education in Uzbekistan, and the MDG on education is not about elementary education for our country. We made a more ambitious goal of achieving equality in higher education. we all of a sudden from the parliament, when they had hearings on MDGs, received a request for 1,000 copies in Uzbek of this policy. And then this particular goal was reconsidered and redefined because we produced a paper which suggested recommendations and indicators, better indicators, which would help us trace how we are doing in higher education. So
now the quality and the impact of policy briefs, they are not put on.
But I'm talking about the influence
Yes, but
of the
they-
policy briefs. It's
yes.
not about how you distribute or produce them, it's
Yeah,
about
just-
whether they make the difference.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm talking about going green, not to produce them in paper because it's a waste of money, just money. Because it's, you know,
Can I finish, please?
Yes.
And last but not the least, last December we had a forum of economists. It was organized by the government under the Cabinet of Ministers. We had the Institute of Forecasting and Macroeconomic Development. And this is a very radical organization, very neoliberal economic growth, GDP. So we had some extracts from our to be an HDR on regional disparities because this forum was about macroeconomic and regional aspects of modeling sustainable economic growth. There were about 200 people who applied, submitted their papers for that forum. So did we. And in the process of doing that, the ministry, when they saw our papers, because we were suggesting the calculation of HDI at the subnational level, we actually opened up the whole methodology of our upcoming report and how we rank the regions of Uzbekistan. And we also developed the subcomponents of this report: economic, social, environmental. So there were a few studies on that. And even before this forum started, I received the news that one of the sessions will be called Human Development. It's a precedent. I mean, the government was not so highly considering it. That's the evidence. It's in Russian, but those who speak Russian, you will see. Over 20 papers provided by the government, by academia, by journalists, those who are interested, were about human development. And then they even produced this book, and now it's distributed to the National Library, to the universities, to the ministries. So it's making change. And I believe that it's a real progress in what I do. And I'm very pleased that it's happening in my country. Thank you for your attention.
I want